Hey guys, welcome back to my training videos. On today's workout, we're gonna focus on legs, quads, hamstrings, and calves all in one workout. I've been focusing a lot recently on biceps and chest and abs and shoulders in my videos, so this workout is all about the legs. A lot of superset exercises back and forth. We're gonna combine hamstrings with quads and tie in some calves at the end. First thing first, a little bit of cardio, some warm-up, light stretches. And as you can see, I've got the new flexion shorts on from Highly. Really comfortable to train legs in. They don't ride up too high when I'm doing the leg presses. Available in 3 different lengths. You can check these out on highly.com. More information below. Use my name, Richards40, get 40% off everything. So go check them out. And for now, let's get on with our warm-up and get started on the leg workout. First exercise after a warm-up, which was 3 or 5 minutes on the bike. Nothing too intense, just kind of enough to get some blood, some circulation moving around. It's also great to kind of mentally prepare me and think about the workout ahead. So the first exercise, superset, lying hamstring curls combined with some stiff-legged deadlifts. I'm using dumbbells. They're just easier to maneuver, I feel, back and forth, but barbell or Smith machine if you're not too sure about the execution of that exercise. I love getting the hamstrings warmed up and involved first before then moving on and starting much of my compound press movements, predominantly for the quads, but you're gonna find out how I switch that up and involve the hamstrings too. A couple of warm-up sets, aiming for 10 or 12 reps. I'm not too worried about the overall rep range because I am moving back and forth. So my strength isn't going to be as much as if I'm just doing straight sets, but this is a great way to combine a lot of exercises, work a lot of different muscle groups from a variety of different angles within a relatively short space of time. A couple of tips on here. Early on, I keep my toes pointed, so I'm lifting with my toes pointed away. The reason for that is it involves more of my gastrocnemius, my calf muscle, and it works the hamstring slightly different than if I've got my toes pointed down towards me. So when the weight gets a little bit heavier, as you saw, I'm increasing to the maximum weight that I can perform on this machine, then my toes start to curl in. You're gonna see more of that kind of technique with the leg extensions later on in the video. Superset with some stiff-legged deadlift. Now the key to this is all about the hips and keeping the knees soft. As you bend down, you're not bending in the knees. You're not doing this. You want that tension in the hamstring. So as you flex back, all of that stress is on the hamstring muscle, and you're lowering the bar or the dumbbell to just below the knee, and if you can, a little bit deeper to increase that stretch. Hamstrings are now definitely nicely warmed up. They're ready to go. So we're gonna move over to a leg press machine and do a compound movement and superset that with another multi-joint exercises and take these dumbbells, do some lunges over there as well. So let's get over there. If there's one leg exercise that you want to superset, I recommend this one. leg press with some lunges. There's so many different variations that can be used within these two exercises. Alright, let me just breathe and get my my breath back. A couple of variations on the foot plate here. If you're going for overall strength, you want to keep toes and heels pretty much in line with your hips. Therefore, you've got the right sort of biomechanical setup to get that power through and engage all of the muscle fibers to exert that force up. What I'm doing here isn't simply just overall strength. It's conditioning, general maintenance, and just trying to maintain a kind of a standard. So I'm changing my foot positioning on the foot plate a lot. My first one, a little bit more frog-toed out. So as I come down, it's more that outer, wider sweep of the quads. A little bit later on towards the end of my set, my feet are a little bit higher, my toes are actually off the bench. And by doing that, positioning my foot higher, I'm involving more of the hamstring musculature to come into play just because of the positioning of my feet. So that's what I was talking about earlier. If your focus is on quads, keep the feet at the midpoint together and change the angles just a little bit to kind of affect more of a particular muscle region having to take the brunt of that force. Hamstrings, feet a little bit higher. So with these supersets back and forth, I'm including all of it. It's a full leg workout. Jumping straight into these dumbbell lunges. Now these are a little bit heavier than I would normally use for walking lunges, and that's the point. I really want to play into the sort of the fatigue of my muscles after a big compound movement. So towards the end, I'm even overstepping a little bit on that lunge. Normally when you lunge, you step forwards, down, and your hips and shoulders are stacked and you're kind of equal distance between your knees. What I'm doing towards the end is overstepping, really stretching out that quad, getting a nice stretch in the hamstring, and having to apply a lot of force to push back. And these weights are definitely pushing me to my limits. The great thing is if I do fail, I can simply drop the weights and push back up. Not so much on here. So 3 sets here, 10 or 12 reps and about the same here. And really just pushing as much as I've got on the dumbbells. Legs are really warmed up, so I'm gonna carry on with a few more isolation exercises for the quads. We're gonna finish off with a squat, a complete drop set on there to keep our time shortened, and then move over and start to give some calves some work too. If that's an exercise you haven't done, you need to start doing it. The last kind that you saw me do, Sissy Squats, and that is their actual name. It's a great exercise to add in, heck, after any leg exercise, extensions especially. Speaking of which, focused on independent legs, so I'm isolating each quad muscle as opposed to both together. The benefit of that is it allows me to kind of work on any weaknesses that I might have. We will have a weaker side, so it allows me to at least be aware of that. And also, I don't know if you can see on camera, but I'm slightly rotating my actual leg in or out, not just my ankle, but my entire leg, so I can focus more on that teardrop, the vastus medialis, or shift it and focus a little bit more on that outer sweep. 10, 12 reps on each leg. Then I take the weight up. I've already pre-exhausted my quads, so just give them a real shock with some heavier resistance on there. That's pretty much failure on there. seated hamstring curl. This is a little bit different than a lying hamstring curl. So if you have both machines in your gym and you tend to stick to the lying hamstring curl, try adding in some seated ones too. The positioning changes the way that the hamstring works, being sat upright and curling sort of practically under your leg as opposed to laying out flat. I'm changing the angle of my toe on both of these machines, keeping the toes stretched out as it's light, and the same one on there pulling down, and then as it starts to get heavier, as I increase the weight, my toe comes up and I've got more force against that resistance. And then the sissy squats, a little bit tricky to do. Just stand, feet shoulder width apart, come up on the heels, tilt forwards, and then basically you're gonna drop your hips down, pushing your knees out in front. So it's not like a normal squat where you come down. I'm purposely projecting my knees out. All of that stress on the muscle is here on my quads, and I'm not adding any extra weight, so I'm not worried about my knees. And I'm just using my own body weight as resistance to push back up. It's tough after having done these exercises, but really great to combine all of those exercises together. A lot of isolation movements in there. I'm able to work independently, and my legs pretty much done, except for our squats. So we're gonna move on there, load the weights up, and just focus on one massive strip set to finish off the legs before we move on to calves. Let's go. Squats are not my forte anymore. I used to be able to squat a lot of weight, but now I like including them more towards the end of the workout as a real shock to my system. Kind of save my strength more for the leg presses and some heavy lunges. But that strip set, whew, what a shock. So what we did here, instead of using the full 20 kilo or 45 pound plates, I've opted for 10 kilos or 25 pounds, put them all on the bar, enough that I know I can manage about 8 pushing 10 reps. And then the goal is to kind of hit my failure around 10 or 11 with the maximum weight. And by stripping off the same amount of weight each time without really any rest in between, I'm able to at least get close. I'm still chasing that 10th rep. I think I got 10, 10, 8, 9 and a 10 again. So pretty close, but my quads are, for me at least, they're pretty pumped. I gotta get some size back on, but as I've said for the past year or two, I'm not chasing size anymore. I'm not trying to get bigger or stronger. For me, this is my happy weight. I'm just maintaining and enjoying the process of weight training. But that's one to try, especially after those sissy squats. Okay, now we get to move on calves. And for this, I'm gonna just include one circuit. So one exercise followed by the next, followed by the next, and then repeat that 3 or 4 times. And then this leg workout is done. So I'm changing my shoes now for calves. The reason for this is some shoes I just work better with a lot of the press movements and just in general. And I know these Adidas aren't necessarily weight training shoes, but they're kind of wide body, they're comfortable for me, and they give me good support on the sole for a lot of the leg press movements. Again, not your typical squat shoes, but they work for me. For calves, I kind of want a softer sole because I'm doing a lot of movement at the base of my foot. So my heel comes down, my toe comes up, and with shoes like this, they tend to flex and not provide enough support. So changing my shoes. Typically I'll come just with an old pair of sneakers or trainers when I'm training calves, really because the amount of flexion and extension I'm doing at the ball of the foot and the toes, which I did in new shoes once, and it pretty much ruined them after a couple of workouts. So if you're training calves, bring a spare pair of shoes. And the good thing I like about these flexion shorts from Highly, these sit just above my knee. So when I am doing calves, which we'll see, the bar's on my knee, or actually just on the short leg, as opposed to the shorts being too low or high, but these actually come in 3 different lengths, so whichever type works best for you, they got one for you. Little break in between the calf circuit. This one I really like actually. It's a great combination of bent leg and straight leg, or bent knee rather, and straight knee calf exercises. And the benefit of doing that is the calf mainly made up of 2 main muscles, the gastrocnemius and the soleus. So we've got the large kind of muscle that sits up here, and then a longer muscle that comes down there. We're working that primarily with either the knee being bent or with the leg pretty much being straight. So if you are training calves, which you should be, make sure you include both. A seated variety and a standing. If you don't have a seated machine, you can kind of fabricate one from a Smith machine, or just with your feet on a block, have a pad and an actual dumbbell or weight. Basically mimic that movement. The other exercise you saw me do might be a new one for many of you. It's this one, the tibialis anterior. Not many gyms have this. Benefit is it's working the sheath of muscle here, the tibialis anterior, that sits just atop the shin bone. Now, if you don't have this exercise, I'll include a link in the video. I've got a couple of variations. One, you can perform this with a cable machine using either an ankle strap or a handle, have it around your toe and sit there, and you're basically doing that movement. As long as you're pulling up against resistance, that's that tibialis. Or, another favorite of mine, put a towel, put a dumbbell, sit at the end of a bench, and you're doing this movement. So even if you might not have a cable machine or the actual weights, you can still perform this exercise. 15, 20 reps each, minimal rest time, and you can see me just doing a little pump, toe taps and heel taps, about 30 seconds each in between, and then a final stretch and some mobility work around my ankle. It's about an hour for this entire leg workout. Listen, granted, this may be too many exercises for one leg workout. I do superset them back and forth, so even though it's more exercises, the total time that I'm in the gym is about the same as if I'm just focusing on 1 or 2 muscle groups. So if you watch me on my Instagram or any other social media, often I will only train 1 muscle group with a smaller one, like chest and forearms, or back with a little bit of rear deltoids. But every now and again, I'll combine either a full body workout or a lot of muscle groups like this one with quads, hamstrings, and calves, and just superset them. The intensity's up there, the resistance is there. I may not be lifting as heavy, but it's also good as a kind of an active recovery instead of always trying to push the maximum weight. Listen, if you haven't already, subscribe. Nearly 500 videos on there now. Thank you for watching and following for the past 10 years now, nearly. Couldn't have done this without you guys watching, and also the guy behind the camera, Josh Morgan, aka Momentum Productions. I'll include a link and descriptions below. Go check out his work. If you're in LA or California, or you just want to come out here and get some video, you like the way that it's filmed, contact him. Great guy, a lot of equipment, good rates as well, so you can get some really great videos for your social media or whatever it is that you're doing. On that note, I'm gonna go cool down, stretch out a little bit. We'll try and get another video next week. Comment, keep these comments coming. Let me know what you like about the videos, what you don't like, what you want to see more of. We read through them. We try and, kind of answer a lot of the questions and bring to light techniques, methods, or just solutions that may not be out there in a lot of other videos. So that really is my goal with these videos. Okay, go stretch, cool down, and I'll see you guys next week. Take care, thank you for watching. And we've got 1 month left of the year, so let's keep pushing. 2018 is about 30 days away. So I'm gonna be pushing all the way up until the new year. I'll see you guys then, bye.